Well, we're back. We are back, and the Golden Knights are back in the winning column as they always do after the bye week. It's pretty wild. I didn't realize that until I looked it up during the bye week, and then I forgot about it earlier today. And then I watched the game, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They always do win out of the bye week. It's five straight. We're fudging the numbers a little bit because the 1 year they were supposed to go to the Olympics and they didn't go to the Olympics, and therefore they like reconfigured the schedule, and the Golden Knights had like a 7 day break in between one of their games, and I counted that because they won that, but they won the other one in the whatever. They've done really well off long breaks. Beginning of the season, they've won a ton of season openers. They've won a lot of games when they have 3 days off. They've won a lot of games now out of the break. It's worked with Cassidy. It worked with DeBoer. It's been very good. So that was kind of an expectation that they're going to play well coming into this game. But with the break being the way that this break was, and it was a bit unique in the fact that the Golden Knights had three important players playing in that tournament that were now coming back. They had an important player that's now not playing in this game because he got injured in said tournament. We weren't really sure how it was going to go. Now, granted, the best player that Vancouver has is not playing. Golden Knights are without two important players, so I guess that maybe offsets. Quinn's pretty important, so we'll see with that. Either way, they're missing Demko. Like that's not a full strength Vancouver team, but that Vancouver team is not particularly good. Nonetheless, the game starts. We get kind of what I expected to a degree, which is it was kind of loose. It was kind of not really the cleanest style of game, and I think also like part of that is the last 7 games all of us have watched, including the most important one that we all watched on Thursday, was at a level that was just never going to be matched by this particular game. Like that was a Stanley Cup final level of hockey game. And now we're jumping back into late February, missed team out of the playoffs, team off of a break. It wasn't going to be the same. The good news is the way that this game started, the Golden Knights, I thought, did a pretty good job of being the ones that kind of embraced the messiness early in this game, and I thought that's why you saw them have opportunities to get some of the power plays. Certainly, the third one is the one that they actually forced. The other two, it's too many men. You don't really force too many men. They just make a mistake, and that's kind of what happened. Not taking advantage of that, I think break kind of maybe comes into play on that. Certainly, that it wasn't really connected on that power play. You're missing your power play quarterback in Hannafin. So you go 0 for 3. I was a little concerned at the end of the first period. It's like, is that going to be the reason that they fall behind in this game and inevitably can't come back in this game? Like you had that feeling. Fortunately, they get the first one. Vegas kind of starts to push. And I thought the 5-on-5 game really started to grow towards the back end of the first period into basically almost all of the second period, certainly after they gave up the goal. They started playing a lot more consistently in the offensive zone. I liked that it wasn't a ton of like looking for the perfect play. There was a lot of getting the puck on the goal. They did get sticks on shots. They were doing a pretty good job of having puck support and getting the puck back. So all of it was pretty good until they take the lead. It's fortunate bounces, and then it starts to go back the other way. And the fortunate bounces, like both of them are kind of fortunate. I like the play Jack makes off the wall to get it up to Korczak. He throws it on goal, and you get the opportunity right in front. That's not a chance that really Barbashev has been getting recently. And for him to be able to have that chance, is it puck luck? Did you create it? It's kind of somewhere in between. I would argue they did create it, but I would also argue that 7 out of 10 of those doesn't go directly to him and put right into the goal. The other one's a shot that's way wide that comes right back out to Saad. Lankinen's a type of goalie that comes way out and takes a while to get back into the goal. That was just a perfect scenario. And that is, again, kind of puck luck. You're not creating that. But you've got the Howden breakaway that they weren't able to finish. You've got all 3 power plays. There were a couple of chances. You've got some of these in tight. There were a lot of opportunities. Dorofeev had a couple of really good chances. Like those opportunities were there. I thought the Golden Knights earned their 2 goals going into before the empty netter. And I also believe earned the lead. I do think they played well enough to be better than this team. And I will stand by, as we've seen this team over the course of multiple times over the last few years, this is not a team, Vancouver, that can beat this Golden Knights team. They're not going to do it. Like, I don't think they're going to do it in the playoffs. They maybe one off here or there. If it's a playoff series, I'll probably pick Vegas in 5. Like, I think that matchup is great. So while it's like obviously the Golden Knights need to win every single game they can, and you want to push forward and keep getting all these points, I don't think it would have been the end of the world to give them a point, because if that's the playoff matchup, I'm fine with it. Right. So whatever, don't worry about that. It's like, I just feel like in the West, this is a team that I would really prefer to see. We sort of talked about that a little bit last year. That's like, can we find a way to Vancouver as opposed to Dallas? And looking back, that would have been nice. We didn't end up getting that. And Vancouver, I didn't think was particularly good in the playoffs, even though they did win a series last year. I don't think this Vancouver team's going to make the playoffs anyway. I don't think they're very good. So that's that. This Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm specializes in high stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. One of the things that I wanted to touch on in this, because I think it's interesting more so than all that big of a deal. And if anybody will listen to the post-game press conference, I asked the question about it. I may write about it. I don't know. It's so in depth that it might make a video. I might take a video. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But on the power play, and I know that today is tough to kind of take and say this is where we're at. This is what the power play is going to be. I'm not fully going there, but I do think that there's been a pretty much a systematic shift in how teams are defending the Golden Knights power play. Before, they were really, really concerned with what Jack was going to do. Is Jack going to take that shot off the wing? Is Jack going to be able to make that play through the seam all the way over to the other side to Olofsson or Dorofeev? Is he going to be able to get Theodore kind of coming downhill, or if it were to be Hanifin, whatever? That's the option they were looking for. And what happened is the Golden Knights were consistently hitting Jack to Stone to Hurdle into the back of the net, or Jack to Stone across the front, and it's getting to the other side and it's in the net. You're starting to see teams defend it a lot of a different way. They're trying to take away Jack's shot, which has been effective. He is not going to take that shot unless it really looks good for it to be there for him. So you're starting to see teams force the puck down to Stone and back off once Stone gets it. They feel that when Stone gets it down in that corner, that's the goalie. That's on the goalie from there. If we can defend the rest of it, that's going to be the goalie stopping that jam play. We've seen it work. The Golden Knights have gone to it. Stone has gone to the jam play. It has worked. The most recent one I can remember is against the Rangers, where he jammed it. It got poked off his stick and hopped up over Shesterkin. It's in the back of the net. I think that play is something that's going to have to come back in a big way into this power play, because I think that tic-tac-toe into the middle is going to be awfully difficult for them to consistently get with the way that teams are starting to defend them. And they obviously had all this time. Tocchet did go to 4 Nations, so maybe didn't spend it, but they definitely had time to understand what they wanted to do against this Golden Knights power play, that it's becoming more and more and more important as we're seeing the 5-on-5 numbers continue to dip down. They're not scoring at a consistent pace at 5-on-5, so that power play is going to be very important as we go forward to try to get them to 3 goals to win all these games against the good teams down the stretch and into the postseason. When teams are backing off Stone, they're going to have to find the other options. Cassidy talked about a lot of them. They're very good. I recommend listening to his answer to that, because it's really like beyond the coach speak. It's actually X's and O's hockey, and he offers different opportunities. And of course, in this game, because that's the way that the world works, you don't get another chance to actually put some of that into play, because they never got another power play the rest of the game. They had the 3 in the first period. They don't get anything the rest of the game. So that's one thing that as Stone gets the puck on the power play, it's going to be interesting to see how many teams do that, how the Golden Knights adjust to it, and what they're able to do to kind of make changes and switch it out. And with Hanifin at the power at the quarterback position at the top of it now, how much does that change it as opposed to it being Theodore? That's something I'm focused on moving forward. One of the biggest sequences to me in the game, and I don't get to watch the broadcast, so I don't know how much it was brought up. I'm assuming it was, because it was 2 significant moments that happened pretty quick after each other, is the 2 times that the Golden Knights got stuck in their own end with a weird situation going on. The first one is a shot that hits McNabb's boot. His skate blade flew all the way like into the high slot, and it just sat there. And now he's stuck on one blade. He's kind of in front of the goal, can't really go anywhere. isn't really going to be able to do anything. And the Golden Knights did a really, really good job of packing it in, taking away those seam passes, and making sure that even though this is effectively now a penalty kill at that point, you have another body in front of the goal. So maybe you're kind of trying to force that long shot. And that's what happened. It was kind of a moment where it's like, all right, we need to really dig in right now, right here. And to see them be able to take those steps to start doing that, something we started to see at the road trip at the end before the break, and now we see it now. When you're seeing that, that's what this team's going to have to do to win. Those are the moments that once they get the lead, they've got to dig in defensively. They've got to be comfortable in their own end and find ways to make sure that they're defending at a high enough level. The second one happened maybe a shift, maybe it was 2 shifts later, is there's like a little bit of a scrum in front of Hill. Hill's stick gets kind of ripped out of his own hand. It's sitting down right in front of the crease. It's potential that a defenseman can pick it up and hand it to him. And then Joshua comes through and kind of skates in and aimlessly and is clearly on purpose move the stick away, and they keep pushing it further and further away to where Hill's not going to get it. And a goalie without a stick it's dangerous because there's a lot that he cannot do when he does not have the stick. Like you have there, it's concerning. Goalies without the sticks are not going to make as many saves as goalies with the sticks. Again, Golden Knights recognize the situation. They understand what they have to do. They know the assignment, and they got the job done. They forced a shot from pretty far out. Hill had eyes on it, had vision on it without the screen in front. He's able to blocker it and then grab it. Like those are 2 moments that we can look at and say that's how you win this game. Then the penalty kill, obviously later, they were very good on that. They were pretty darn good on the 6-on-5, defending, staying in the middle, staying compact. You're starting to see this team gel a little bit more with that compactness in the own zone. Now, that being said, the one goal that Vancouver did get was the opposite. Was a situation where they get a nice play to get an entry, and I didn't particularly love how that entry happened, and that it kind of allows an easier chance into the zone because they didn't even hit the pass tape to tape. Golden Knights are kind of have the 2 defensemen pulled over a little bit too far to the puck side. Hannafin's on that side. They hit a seam pass. It's not even really, it's like a pass diagonally through the neutral zone and have an opportunity to potentially get something right there off the rush. They miss the pass and yet still get that easy entry. And now the Golden Knights are flooding back into their own zone. They're trying to put themselves in a good position, and they did not clamp all the way down in the middle of the goal or in the middle of the ice like they were in the third period. And because of that, you end up with a situation where guy skates around the back. Hill feels like he has to take matters into his own hands, swipes at it with his stick, tries to block that pass going across. And now when the puck does get there, goalie has made a mistake not being able to block that pass because he thinks he has to, because B, the defensemen are not in the position to actually make the play. There's no stick in the way to change that pass or challenge that pass going across. Now they get the goal. Like that was a moment where you're saying, okay, this is the first time we've seen them have any sort of extended zone time, and it ends up with the puck in their own net, in the back of the net. Like those are the ones that it's like, that's what I'm most focused on. I do still have concerns, and I am still looking at it saying, I don't know if this team's going to be able to score enough at 5-on-5. And then what does the power play look like in those situations if it is relied upon to get you 1 a game in a playoff series? If you tell me we need 7 in a playoff series, that's a lot. And that's kind of where it seems to be headed. Of course, we have the deadline coming up. There potentially can be more happening. Carlson can go back, Theodore can go back, and they can get better, and there can be more. But that's an interesting piece. Next, or I guess last before I take some of the questions, so if you have some questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat there, is the way that they're starting to look to balance the lineup a little bit more. I've been screaming for Jack to be away from Stone a lot. I thought tonight was actually an opportunity to put them together because they were both at 4 Nations. They may be both on the same speed. Maybe you can get some dominance from them. This team does not have a dominant shutdown defensive group, so you probably could have did it. They continued to say, no, the focus is more on the bigger picture here. Let's go ahead and break it up. Now, when I look at this lineup, I'm not overly enthralled with Stone, Saad, and Howden. I know they scored the goal today. It was kind of a breakdown that they didn't really cause from Vancouver, and then a wide shot that ends up on Saad's stick. I don't necessarily think that group did enough to feel like that's going to work against some of the better teams and some of the deeper teams, and certainly on the road. So in that respect, I then look up the lineup and I say, okay, well, Lavoie, I'm on with Hurdle. I didn't think they had a ton going on, particularly. I thought Dorofeev and Hurdle had some, doing some more. But I thought that's why a lot of the zone time was not generating into super high dangerous chances and secondary chances that we're going to get that. And that's why, in the end, you end up with 2 5-on-5 goals, and both of them are off throwing the puck on goal or off goal and finding a way to put it through. The top line of Eichel, Barbashev, Olofsson, I'm good with that as we find ways to get back to maybe Carlson's with Stone, Hurdle's finding his way with whoever it's going to be. Maybe there is another player that comes in. I think there's something there, and I do believe that the balanced lineup is going to be better off long term, but I don't know that at the moment they've done enough to convince Cassidy that when we get to the point where we have a must-win game, whether that's playoff game 1 or if something goes wrong down the stretch and there's an important game down the stretch or whatever, when we get to that point, I'm not sure that what we've seen to this point and what I kind of expect to see in the next group of games going forward, even though there's a Chicago game coming up, they might score 7. I don't know. But as we move forward, you have to see more out of that group at 5-on-5 to make sure that they're going to stay with that balance or more balanced lineup as opposed to loading it up once we get to the point where we get to these important games. I think we have not seen it to this point, and today did not continue to push me forward on that. How do I feel about Hutton? So to me, I think when you have the situation where Theodore goes out of the lineup and you need a right side player, Theodore's not right-handed, but he does play the right side. I think it offers a lot of change, or it forces a lot of change. And I wrote about this on the site. I don't see a huge difference between Hutton and Korczak in regards to the overall skill level that they're going to bring. Like, how much does it help your team to win? I don't see a huge difference. However, I do think there's a significant difference in the type of player. And right now, they are still trying to really get their defensive game in order as opposed to really focusing big time on the offense. Now, granted, Korczak gets the assist, so maybe he's going to change the mind on that anyway. But I don't have any problem with going right-sided player, put him in there with McNabb. You don't have to mess with the other things. Hannafin was playing with Whitecloud. Haig was playing with Pietrangelo. You don't have to change it. If you decide to go to Hutton, while again, I don't think that there's a huge difference, I think the ripple effect in the lineup is more significant. And when there's so much going on in a game like this where guys have been off and situations have been goofy, when you come back in this game, you want to limit some of the change, limit some of the unknown. And that's what would have had to have happened if Hutton had gone in. I think Hutton will eventually get his opportunity. We assume that Theodore's out for at least a month. And that's a month from back then. I think we will get to the point where Hutton does get an opportunity. How that looks, what does it change? Can it make some other things getting better? That's what we're going to see moving forward. I'm not all that worried at the moment. Was Holtz sent to HSK? Yes, and he played there yesterday, the first minor league game he's played in a long time. I think it's pretty clear that they find that experiment to probably be done. Lavoie has probably passed him, and Roenbier probably still has passed him. Cal Burke, maybe. Saad, certainly. Schwint is skating. So maybe he comes back in the near future. He's probably past Holtz as well. I think the Holtz experiment is pretty much done. I don't think that there is much reason to believe that he's much not only in the plans the rest of this season, but moving forward. Is the Victory Dragon the one still on the Jumbotron? Yes, it's gone now, but it was behind me. I don't know what was going on with the Jumbotron or the sound system or whatever today, but it was a nightmare. It wasn't too bad for us up in the press box. We heard it. There was some static going on, or I don't know what exactly it was, but I know a lot of people in the lower level, it was a nightmare for them. So hopefully that gets fixed. I do think that the building recognized that something was going on. They made a change in the second intermission. They didn't do the same thing they usually do in the second intermission, which is usually pump music that's outrageously loud. They chose to not do that, which indicates to me they probably understood that something was going on. But hopefully that gets fixed. They have what, until Thursday, until the next game. So they've got 4, 5, 6 days. What is it? 5 days? I don't know. It's hard for what, Saturday, whatever. Yeah, 5. So hopefully that thing gets fixed at that point. I saw today that Mikko Rantanen might be an option. I don't see how that's physically possible. I don't even know what that looks like. Like, it would take a ton to get Mikko Rantanen out of Carolina. Like, they just gave up a ton to make it happen. And I understand that he's potentially headed to free agency and things may not work out for them, but they still have a playoff run. Like, I can't even come up with a scenario. Like, I think there's no way it happens without Pavel. There's probably no way it happens without Connolly. There's probably no way it happens without both of the second round picks. And I'm not even sure that's even a start. I don't see how they can potentially get Mikko Rantanen. I just don't see it being possible. And there was just the recent comment from McCrimmon in the RJ basically saying something along the lines of, we do not expect to be explosive players in this deadline. As far as who or what are they looking at, I really am starting to get the feeling that Saad was a big piece that they were looking for. That if it was, what are we looking for? It was a player like Brandon Saad. I'm not sold that he is the answer, that he is the guy, that is the way that this needs to go, that's the only one. I would like to have more in the system. So I'm looking at other players along those lines, like something you can buy with a second round pick, something you could buy with a third round pick or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a big time deal. Like, think down the lines of Nick Cousins, like Matthias Janmark, like Teddy Bluger, those type of guys. If it does end up being bigger, maybe it's like an Alec Martinez type player, or like, I don't even think you can go as large as Barbashev. So I don't expect them to do a ton, but I do think that they have set up to do something. So I don't think it's a nothing, but I don't think it's going to be something that it's like, oh my God, the Golden Knights did it again. I don't see that coming. So as we get closer, maybe that will change as the results occur. There's still 5 games before the deadline. If they have some struggles in the next 5 games and then the overall strength of what has happened over the last 20 doesn't look particularly good, maybe it looks a little bit different. I think goaltending was one that if it came out and it was a complete disaster, which I don't believe it ever has been, but I know a lot of people have. If that were the case, maybe they start to look down that and say, is there an option that's for a price that we could potentially upgrade here? Maybe. I don't think that's going to be the case at the moment, because I don't think there's enough time for Hill to be bad enough between now and the deadline that they feel like they have to make that move. I don't think that's going to happen. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm sponsoring all the Periscopes this season, and into the postseason they will continue, I would believe. That's all I got for tonight. We got to do a podcast at some point. We are doing a watch party at Giordano's on Monday. So please come out to Giordano's in Summerlin on Monday and watch the game. The game starts at 7. I'm going to be there somewhere around 6:45, 6:50, somewhere in there. We are doing we're not doing trivia. It's different. It's now it's closer to like a prediction game, something like kind of like what we do with pizza points and that type thing, but it's a little bit different. Basically, there's a sheet. You answer all the questions. It's things like who's going to take the first shot, what's the number going to be of the guy that scores the first goal, how many goals are the Golden Knights going to score, all these different things. You have until the end of the first period to fill it out. So it's mostly second period and early third period stuff that we're playing with. It makes the game a little bit more fun. And if you win, you and your entire table get their meal paid for at that night. So you can come, you can get all your meal paid for, all your food paid for that night. So it's fun. Come out. It's been a good time. We're looking for a win on one, so hopefully we get one of those. We haven't had one this year, but that's okay. They haven't been particularly good on the road. We're going to get one, I think, this time. I think this is the time they are going to beat the Kings. Come out to Giordano's in Summerlin, support the site, support one of our best sponsors, one of our sponsors that has been around for a very, very long time and has been awesome for hosting us and doing all the different things we can, hosting playoff watch parties, and we want to continue doing those moving forward. So please, if you can, if you're not doing anything and you want to come watch the game with people that also want to watch the game and you want to eat the best pizza in the world, come out to Giordano's on Monday to watch the game. That's it. See you. Good night.